So here we are once again in my today's tutorial on figures of speech part 2nd. In my last tutorial on figures of speech part 1st, in that tutorial I explained 10 prominent figures of speech in English language and literature with their meanings and examples. So in this video or tutorial I am going to explain 10 more prominent figures of speech in English language and literature with their meanings and examples. So here is the first figure of speech, analogy. An analogy is something that shows how two things are alike or different from each other, but their ultimate goal is making a point about the comparison. The purpose of the analogy is not only to show a comparison but also to explain it. It is complex than simile and metaphor. So therefore, we can say that simile and metaphor just make a comparison between two dissimilar objects or things, but analogy makes a comparison as well as explanation of it. So here is an example of an analogy. What you are doing as useful as rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. So in this sentence, the speaker using simile to compare the task being done earlier to the task of rearranging deck chair on the Titanic. So the ultimate goal is not just to compare one task to other, it is also to explain that the first task is useless by comparing it to a similarity of useless tasks such as rearranging deck chairs on a ship that famously sank into the sea on its maiden voyage. Then another figure of speech, metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech in which the name of one object is replaced with another name that is closely connected with it. So now here is an example of metonymy. The pen is mightier than the sword. So here we can see the pen and the sword, these two objects is replaced by one another. So here the above sentence has two examples of metonymy. Number one, the pen stands for the written word. The sword stands for military aggression and force. Then another figure of speech, irony. Irony is a figure of speech in which the person uttering the ironic statement says something which is completely opposite to what they mean or what the reality of the situation. So here is an example of irony. This is my brilliant son who failed out of college. So in this sentence we can find the father uttering opposite sentence of his son. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. This line is taken from the Rime of Ancient Mariner by S.T. Coleridge. So in this sentence we can find an irony. Though sea water is all around, the mariner is dying of a thirst because it is a salty water and cannot be drink. So here is a irony in a statement. So we can see the water is available but the mariner is unable to drink it. Then types of irony. So here three major types of irony: verbal irony, situational irony, dramatic irony. Verbal irony is a figure of speech the speaker intends to be understood as a meaning something that contrasts with the literal or usual meaning of what he says. Example, if it is raining outside, you might hear someone say, "What a lovely weather we are having at the moment." In this sentence, we see the expression which has contradictory or opposite in meaning. Then situational irony is something which refers to situation regarding what is expected to happen and what actually happens. So here is an example of situational irony. The local fire station has burnt to the ground. So in this sentence, we can find the situational irony because the fire station is a place which would be the safest from fire. Then dramatic irony, it occurs in our everyday life when a situation is happening, yet the first person within the situation is unaware of what is happening or occurring. So here is an example of dramatic irony. If a person was mocking to a friend for losing his wallet, but did not realize that he had also lost his own wallet. So this is an example of dramatic irony. In this sentence we can find person was mocking earlier upon his own friend for losing his wallet, but at the same situation he did not realize that he had also lost his own wallet. So it is an example of dramatic irony. Then paradox, another figure of speech. Paradox is a figure of speech in which a statement appears to contradict or oppose itself. So here are examples of paradox. War is a peace. So in this sentence we can find war and peace is contradict or opposite to each other. The animals were all equal, but some were more equal than others. This line is an example of paradox, is taken from George Orwell's allegorical novella Animal Farm. So in this sentence we can find all equal and more equal than others are a contradict or opposite itself. Then another example, I have to be cruel in order to be kind. In this sentence we can find paradox. Line appear in William Shakespeare's Hamlet. So here we can find cruel and kind. These are contradict or opposite to each other. Then another figure of speech, antithesis. Antithesis is a figure of speech refers to the juxtaposition of opposing or contrasting ideas, usually within a parallel grammatical structures. So here are examples of antithesis. Reading furnishes the mind only with the materials of knowledge. It is thinking makes what we read ours. This line is taken from John Locke's Of the Conduct of Understanding. So in this sentence we can find the opposing or contrasting ideas in concern of reading. Then to err is human, forgive is divine. So this line is taken from Alexander Pope's An Essay on Criticism. So in this sentence we can find the same parallel grammatical structure exposing the contrasting or opposing ideas with the words human and divine. Then better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. This line is taken from John Milton's Paradise Lost. So in this sentence we can find the two opposite or contrasting ideas or words hell and heaven. Then another figure of speech, oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which two opposite ideas are brought together to create an effect. Oxymoron is a combination of two contradictory or opposite words. Oxymoron is found in our daily conversation and literature. So here are examples of oxymoron. There was a love-hate relationship between the two neighboring countries. So now here the word love-hate is exposing contradictory or opposite ideas to brought together to create an effect on the mind of reader. Then another example, the shackles of love straitened him, his honor rooted in dishonor stood, and faith unfaithful kept him falsely true, is taken from Lancelot and Elaine by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So in this sentence we can find there are opposite ideas which brought together to create an effect on the mind of readers, such as shackles, straitened, honor, dishonored, faith, unfaithful, falsely true. So these are the opposite ideas. Then I must be cruel only to be kind is taken from Hamlet by William Shakespeare. So in this sentence we can find two opposite ideas or words, be cruel, be kind is an example of oxymoron. Then another figure of speech, anaphora. Anaphora is a figure of speech in which a certain word or phrase repeated at the beginning of a clause or sentences. So anaphora is a prominent feature of literature from prose and poetry to plays, and is most commonly used by the political leaders in their speech. So we have seen in our earlier tutorial on figures of speech part first. So there is a alliteration. In alliteration we have seen there are some sounds is created at the beginning of a words So here in the same manner, some word or phrase are repeated again and again at the beginning of a clause or a sentence. So here is an example of Anaphora. So it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. So these lines are taken from Charles Dickens' novel A Tale of Two Cities. So in this line we can find there is a repetition of certain word. It was the repeated again and again at the beginning of a sentences. So this is an example of anaphora. Then euphemism. Euphemism is a figure of speech using a substitute or alternative expression to disguise some fact or idea that is distressing, offensive or embarrassing. So here are examples of euphemism. A friend may have passed away. So here the word passed away has a substitute died. So he walks tightly. So tightly has a substitute drunkard man. So I am one, sir, that comes to tell you your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two bags. This line is taken from Othello, Act 1st, Scene 1st. So here the euphemism referring to sex found in Othello by William Shakespeare, the expression making the beast with two bags refers to the act of having a sex. Then pun. A pun is a play upon a words that produces comic effect by using word that suggest two or more meanings by exploiting similar sounding words that have a different meanings. So now here are examples of pun. The happy life depends on a lever. So here is a word lever having a two or more meanings. So in this sentence the word lever refers to the bodily organ and simply person who lives. In another example, atheism is a non-profit institution. So here the word profit used instead of profit to produce a comic effect. So in this sentence we can find the similar sounding words exploiting their meanings. So now then another figure of speech, transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is a figure of speech in which an adjective is properly attached to one word is transferred from the appropriate noun to modify another to which it does not really belong. So here are examples of transferred epithet. Sarah has an unhappy marriage. So in this sentence we can find marriage is ephemeral and intellectual construction. It cannot be neither happy nor unhappy because marriage is not capable having emotions like human beings. So Sarah has an unhappy marriage with her own life partner. Then I had a wonderful day. So in this sentence the day is not itself wonderful but the speaker had a wonderful day. Then another sentence, I had a sleepless night. So in this sentence we can find transferred epithet. The night was not sleepless but the speaker or a person was sleepless. So these are the prominent figures of speech or rhetorical speech which are used in language and literature. So with this, if you like my videos, please share and subscribe my YouTube channel Literature Insights to get further notification of my videos. So please subscribe my YouTube channel by pressing the bell icon button. So share and like my videos. So with this I take your leave and see you once again in my next video. Stay home, stay safe.